And so on that note, you're welcome to the November edition. It's been a while, but yes, I'm back. And my name is Berla Mundi, as usual, your host for Absa Ready to Work. And just a reminder again that you need to download the app so you can also go through all the modules and complete it. You can find it on iOS, Play Store, or Huawei stores. Just download it. It brings you into a world of possibilities thanks to Absa. And so it's great that we're back. And today we're going to be speaking about getting ready for the job market and navigating it. But beyond that, we're looking also at the international, the global job market. So not just the local. I think that over time we've spoken about how you can prepare yourself for jobs that are available on the market locally. But now we're looking beyond, and we're asking you to prepare yourselves for opportunities that come your way from any part of the world. It is possible that you can actually get a job outside Ghana or even outside the continent, but you need to be ready for it. And how do you ensure that you're ready? That's why we have our guest here today to tell us all about it. And so stay put. We're live on Facebook at Absa Bank Ghana and also live on YouTube at Absa Ghana. And we don't want you to only stay on and listen to it and not interact with us. While you're listening to what our experts have to say, if you have any questions, if there's something you've learned, if you want to repeat that phrase or any other phrase you heard in the promo, or from our experts, you can just do that. But remember, the hashtag is Absa Ready to Work. And even after the live session is over, we want to still stay interactive with you. So keep those messages coming. And we'll have experts also, from Absa Bank who will be responding to some of your questions if they are left unanswered while the live session is going on. So let's go straight to my guest for today. I have one globetrotter, and she's going to tell us a bit about herself, probably mention how many countries. I want to guess she's probably been to about 10 or more countries. Maybe even 10, I'm understating, But she's also very well versed when it comes to the global job market. And so she'll tell us a bit more about how to prepare yourselves for it. And then we have an HR expert as well. So let me introduce my first guest. She is Okusua Opong-Menash, and she's the founder of DuaPa. Hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Good to have you. I'm good, thank you. So Ghana is your, 45th country that you've visited?
I've even lost count.
You've lost count now, huh? So 55th? How old is Ghana again? 60 or 7? So let's say that, we're counting the age of Ghana and we're using that to equate the number of countries you probably visited and worked in, right? Mm-hmm. Well, good to have you. I'll let you explain what DuaPa actually does shortly. But let me also introduce my second guest, and he is Prince Tettey-Nartey. This will be the first time that you've seen him on the show, by the way. But he's back, and he's an HR partner, business partner with Absa Bank Ghana Limited. Good to see you as well.
Good to see you, Bella.
Just like you and me, I think we have to count our numbers under 10 or...
Yes, under 10.
Under 10. Don't worry. There will be a door of opportunities for us very soon. Hallelujah, somebody. How are you doing as well?
Oh, very good, Bella.
All right.
Yeah,
good to have you in the studios.
Thank you very much.
Now, let me start off with you, Okusua. So, DuaPa, what is DuaPa? What do you do?
DuaPa does many, many things, but the ultimate goal of DuaPa is to increase the GDP of Ghana by at least 1%. So the way I see I can do my 1% is by, number one, providing outsourcing opportunities. So if you are looking for a job and you haven't seen a company advertising something, you can always come to me. Companies can advertise to me, and I can help find those opportunities.
Okay.
Number two is business management services. So you're getting ready to set up your business. You don't have an HR department. You're trying to figure out how to really get things going in your business. Definitely come to me, and our team of consultants will help support you. And last but not least, we know that data rules everything. And the only way to make really, really intelligent decisions is to use data. So I pride myself on gathering data and doing analysis to help with the research and development of better understanding the workforce.
How long have you been running this business?
So I've been running DuaPa for about 1 year now.
Okay. 1 year? Mm-hmm. That's after you decided you were done traveling around and you wanted to settle and start your own business, I guess.
Yes.
And so, again, in traveling around, you're traveling because you're working for different companies.
Yes, some work, some pleasure.
Oh, some work. Okay, let's focus on the work. The pleasure is personal, so I'll leave that out. But for the ones that you worked with, how many international companies have you worked with, if I may ask, if I'm not prying too much?
So I've worked for, I've even lost count. I would say maybe 5 or 6 international companies.
I see. Did you set out to want to work for a global company, or did it just happen?
So I would say it just happened.
Okay.
Like many of us who are looking for work, oftentimes you just want to find any and every opportunity. And I feel I've been blessed to find good opportunities and also really network with people who have been able to connect me to some of these opportunities.
I see. So for you, whilst working with them, what were some of the trends that you can talk about at the moment?
So in terms of workforce trends, we can look at it in two different ways. One way we can look at it is in terms of what are employers looking for. So with my background being in the HR space, oftentimes as an HR person, they're looking for somebody who knows all the different functions within HR. And this is true for any other area, such as marketing, such as governance, and any other part of an organization. The other part is they want to see if you can get along with them culturally. So you have to be flexible, you have to learn who you are and how you want to engage and work with people in the workspace.
You have to learn who you are, first of all.
Yes.
So you can engage with people.
Yes.
So it's not just about coming in to do the work, because I just need to deliver. So if I'm delivering the results, it really doesn't matter how I'm relating with people in the office, no? Well, let me let Prince just come in at this point, because I find that fascinating that
Yes.
I need to learn who I am,
Yes.
first of all, so I can relate.
It's called self-awareness. It tells you the limits you can get to, the gaps you have, how hard you need to push yourself to rise. So when you don't know what you're capable of or what you're made of, you may even be chasing any job, applying for any roles, because you're not self-aware of what your capabilities are. So it contributes to someone performing so well or excelling on a job.
I see. But in terms of dealing with the people within the company as well, I mean, in her case, she had to work with people from different backgrounds. Maybe in your case as well, you've had to deal with people, because there are other people who also have gotten to work with Absa locally, even though it's a multinational. Tell me a bit about handling the cultural shocks, maybe, before I come to Okusua again on that.
Interesting. And it's interesting you're asking me this question, because currently I handle culture for Absa Bank Ghana.
Okay.
Right? For people who have worked in several organizations, they have tasted several forms of cultural shocks. For those who have been in one place for a very long time, they are used to the same place, right? So I've worked in a place where, and I've been sharing this on some of my platforms, when you send someone, let's say an invite, an e-invite for a meeting, maybe Microsoft Teams or Zoom, you would have to walk to the person's desk and tell the person, Bella,
Don't mention my name like that.
I've sent you an invite for a meeting on Tuesday at 10 a.m. If you don't do that, don't show up.
What?
And that was the culture within that space.
Okay.
And I always couldn't understand, because my question is, then what is the purpose of these systems, of these emails, right? So, like she said, culture is a very key thing when it comes to a working environment. That's why in some organizations, you may even do culture assessments, culture fit tests, to see whether you are aligned with what their culture is, maybe what their purpose, what their visions, what their values are. Because all of these things come together to ensure that the person is performing well and the person is going to do their best in the role. And one thing about culture, like you just said, in the international roles, it's there, it's clear. Even in the local roles, it's still there, because we are still different from different backgrounds. Even though generally we may have one culture as Ghanaians, inwardly we still have some differences and diversity, right? So it shows up very strongly, whether international or locally.
Well, that example you gave is quite intense, if I may say. And I'm sure there are people who are watching and they're saying, stop shaking this table. If you know you're on this table, report yourself. Just show a hand or something. But send messages as well if you have any questions. We're looking forward to answering those questions. The hashtag is ReadytoWork. And share the link so your friends can also join us. We're live on Facebook at Absa Bank Ghana and also on YouTube at Absa Ghana. It's Absa ReadytoWork. Okusua, tell me a bit about the cultural shock that you experienced.
Well, I have a few cultural shocks.
Or the experience you gave others.
Definitely. So I'll give a few examples. One is I worked at a multinational that created medical devices. And we primarily worked heavily with people in Germany. And even though you would think, okay, these are all cultures that are outside of Ghana, they must more or less be more or less the same. But unfortunately, they were very, very different. So in the US, where I worked at this company, the culture was very relaxed. So for the most part, people would call each other. If someone had responsibilities, even if you weren't explicit, you would give each other a helping hand.
Yeah.
When I worked with the people in the German company, on that side, they were very direct. So they wanted an explicit list of things they had to do. And if you didn't give them an explicit list, they didn't do it.
Oh.
And they didn't feel bad about not doing it.
Okay.
So that particular organization within Germany, they had a different working culture from the one I had to deal with. So because of that, I had to learn how to tailor the way I gave them work, how I related to them, how I communicated to them.
How are you managing your Ghanaian self within those spaces?
That is the question. So I had to learn more about how I show up. And the workplace, I know I tend to be a bit shy. So I had to now channel this inner beast, my inner Sasha Fierce, as Beyonce would say, and really take charge and give people what they needed in the workplace so they could also support me.
Especially because, in Ghana, there are people who want to do a lot, but then they say you're doing too much. You're too no, you've not been given that task, so why are you doing it?
Exactly.
So I guess you can relate that to probably the Germans, because if you've not given them the task, they're not going to bother. Because they don't want to be called too known or something.
Exactly.
I don't know. But now let's bring it down to finding some of these jobs.
Yes.
Because, like you said, for you it happened. Maybe for the first or second company. But after that, you had to actively now search.
Yes.
For the company that you wanted to work for, especially if it's international. A lot of people avoid applying to international companies because they say the processes are too many. In Ghana, maybe 1 or 2 processes and you're good. But some of these people, you have to go for interviews. I've heard people who have said, I've done 4 interviews already and I still have another interview to do. And I'm not sure if I'm ready for that. How do you prepare yourself for some of these international opportunities?
Great question. So oftentimes the people that I will work with, if I'm placing them with international clients, one major thing I notice is when it comes to interview skills. So oftentimes, I won't say they aren't experienced, it's more so they don't know how to communicate the experience. So using strong statements like I. Culturally, we prefer to look at the whole community. So oftentimes we'll say, oh, we all came to do this. Oh, we all supported it. Meanwhile, in fact, you were the leader of that particular thing. So in order to convey how strong you are and how you are able to make change, you need to start using statements like I. Another thing is also, as you're communicating, make it as to the point as possible. We as Ghanaians, we like to talk. If you give us a platform, we will speak. But when it comes to interviewing, you're only there to give very specific information. So try to make it as specific as possible.
Please come in.
Yeah, that's very true. I agree with Okusua. And one of the first things that stand out is the CV, right? Or what we call the resume in some areas. It's usually the first thing that gives you the opportunity to even start the process in the first place. And we must understand that if you really want to go global, different parts of the world have different formats for CVs, right? So you'd have some parts in Europe, they may need you to put some personal details on there. In other parts, no, right?
Yeah.
In America, no, straight to the point. Your qualifications, work experience, the skills you have, right? Straight to the point. And usually in those areas, you'd have them a minimum of two pages, right? 1 page, 2 page CV, that's all.
Okay.
And I always share this. When I was done with school, my CV was 5 pages.
Oh, you actually had time to write 5 pages.
Today I sit down and I look back and I'm like, today my CV is like 1.5 pages. I'm like, 5 pages, what was I doing? Like, what
were you writing on there?
What was going on
Myself
there?
or what?
So, all those things. I was SLC this, committee this, all those things.
I work under pressure.
Can you imagine?
When they give you work under pressure.
You beat your boss. So the CV is very key, right? So depending on where you are applying to, depending on the nation or where the business is situated, you need to create your CV to meet some of those standards. Very simple, very straight to the point. The required details that need to be there, right? And most of these organizations use very smart systems, to pick CVs, to shortlist, right? And that is going to give you the opportunity to get to meet the human. So that you meet the machine first. And with that, the applicant tracking system, I'm sure we've spoken about it here before, automated systems that pick keywords from the various CVs and then give you the opportunity.
Yeah.
So when you see such roles, you want to go global, you've seen such roles, you look at the job profile, you find some key terms in there, you structure your CV with regards to that so that the system can give you that opportunity. If not, you may have the skill, but you don't put it together right, you wouldn't get it.
You might lose that opportunity.
And like Okusua said, people have stories, but they don't know how to tell them, right? You need to do research about what the culture is in that space. it could be that in that space, when I'm looking at you in the eye, I'm lying. That's how it's perceived, that you're telling lies.
Okay.
It could be that when I'm looking at the ground, instead of looking at your face, I'm lying. So you need to do the research about that culture in that nation, in that country, like she just used Germany, for example, right? Use those examples, those research to help you build your story for the event.
That's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Like you just said, for global recruitment, it's not like, I mean, here you see an advert, you apply, they call you for interview. Oh, they said I got a job, even sometimes on the spot. But here there are several checks that need to go on.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do reference checks, background checks, to check whether what you're saying is right.
Social media
history.
checks.
Yes. Yes.
Just a reminder. So be careful what you post on social media.
The internet never forgets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All those things.
Yeah, a lot happens. If you want to go global, be ready for it.
But where do you find these jobs? So you say if you want to go global, you should be ready for it. But some people don't even know where to start from. Which job search platforms do I go on if I'm looking for these specific international roles? Where do I go?
You want to start?
Yes. So LinkedIn, I always say, is a very great starting point. LinkedIn is your friend. Another place that people often overlook is Slack. So Slack is a messaging platform, and oftentimes Slack channels or many companies have Slack channels or Slack groups. So if you are interested in a particular industry, you go and you do some research. What are some Slack groups? You'll find the Slack groups, and you'll see people posting the jobs there. And the great thing is, as long as you're engaging with people on these platforms, they're more than happy to recommend you for other roles that they have in their organization or organizations they're familiar with.
I see. There are people who complain about LinkedIn, that first of all, it's too serious. Secondly, it's just a bunch of people who just want to make noise about their achievements. And so you go on there, this person saying, I just got this, I just graduated from this university. Oh, I'm the best in this and that. And it's like a lot of people bragging about what they can do. And so for many people, they find it very difficult to navigate LinkedIn, especially. And they're not sure how to differentiate LinkedIn from their Instagram. So they go on there assuming that it's Instagram as well. So let me post my picture. Probably look for something to write underneath, and that should be enough to find me a job. How do you manage a page like LinkedIn with all these concerns?
I think it's the perception, right? Because like you just said, someone just graduated from school, and instead of maybe posting, I just graduated, right?
Hey,
over the past 1 year, it has been a terrible and all sort of things, right? But the positive side of it, or the other side of it, when you look at it, it's actually storytelling. I'm actually telling my story of what has happened over the past. And it's a professional platform, right? You have recruiters going on there searching for possible candidates. When you look at the LinkedIn, let's say, from the recruiter's perspective, the recruiter access, if I go on there and I type in, let's say, HR business partner, and I put in the filters for Accra and Takoradi, I can get access to all of those people who have tagged themselves or labeled themselves on LinkedIn as HR business partners in these areas, right? So it's not more of a show-off platform, and it's a Ghanaian thing, right? When they see people post some of those things, even when people get promotions, some people go and post it there. Some are like, I don't want my people to see it. Why will you post? So it's the mindset and the perception. There, someone from a different background, a different nationality would not mind, but the Ghanaian has a different perspective about it. Yeah.
So she's mentioned LinkedIn and Slack.
Yeah.
Do you have other?
There are numerous platforms, from Target Jobs to Remote Co. There are so many, to Angel List. And
Angel List?
Yes. It's interesting that in this dispensation, we have a lot of information available to us. 20 years ago, someone will have to tell you, or you go to the cafe to go and log in, you're finding out, and then your time is up, you need to pay again. Now we have our phones, and people still don't know that these sites and opportunities are available. So there are numerous of them. In the past, we used to say AI is coming to do a whole lot of strange things, but in other words, thank God for AI. You can just go into ChatGPT and ask about some of these things, and there are so many opportunities, many platforms.
So you listed a few. I just want for those who are watching, so they can also probably jot it down. You talked about Angel List, which is one of them, and then
Target Jobs.
Okay.
You could do remote.co, remote.co.
Okay.
Yes, you could do Hire Me.
Hire Me.
There are so many of them. So many of them, international opportunities, so many.
I see.
So many.
Well, I hope you've noted it down, especially if you're also looking for platforms where you can find jobs, especially international jobs. These are some of these opportunities that you can find. And if you've used any of them before, if you've been lucky to get a big opportunity from any of these platforms, let us know in the comment section as well. If you have questions about it, you still can't navigate some of these platforms, let us know. It is important that we keep track of that. And even after this conversation, make sure that you visit these sites. You'll never know. There are people who have just dropped their CV, didn't expect to get a job.
Yes.
And then weeks later, they just update and say, I actually got the job.
Yeah.
So anything can happen
Yes.
at any time.
Yes.
So get ready for that opportunity. But as we're talking about it, I mean, we'll go back to CV as well. And the issue of keywords. You've talked about how you should tailor your CV to suit a particular environment. But are there some basic requirements that run through all CVs, regardless of, which country it's going to, which company it's going to? And what are those basic necessities?
Okay.
Okusua.
I'll start off. Some very, very basic requirements are to make sure you list your achievements. So just as Prince was talking about how people like to brag on LinkedIn, you also need to brag in your CV. You have to make sure that people know that, oh, I was not just a teller at Absa. I transformed the lives of how many people are coming through your banking hall, 1,000 members. And over the course of me interacting with them, I was able to open 54 new accounts. So this accounts for X% of the impact I'm having at this particular branch. Those key things are really important. It helps you stand out and it helps people understand that the organization was able to succeed because of your inputs. And that leads into the 1% that I mentioned earlier. We all do so many different things. We have to make sure that we're actually accounting for what that means on a broader scale. And international companies, they want to see that. They don't want to hire a local person who is also very local. They want somebody who is local, but they're a superstar. So they feel like they've gotten the best of the best, just how you would feel like you've gotten a job that is one of the best.